We have been looking at the sound x in school this week, x, and we write it like this, down the arm and the leg, down the arm and the leg. Super easy. This is x. And to emphasize the sound x, we're going to make X-rays. X-rays. There are not many words that begin with x, but we are going to make an X-ray. So I have a white piece of paper. You can have cotton buds as well, but I'm using paper because it's more accessible for people. And a nice black piece of card. So if you've seen an X-ray is where they take a photo internally of your bones. So your bones are generally shown up white with a black background. So this is my black background. And I'm going to make an X-ray of my hand, correct. So this is my black paper. I'm going to put my hand down on the black paper. Take a light coloured pencil. In X-rays, it's kind of a bluey colour. You could use white or yellow, whatever you have at home. But I'm going to use a bluey colour because in X-rays, it tends to be a blue tint to the picture. So I'm going to go up my wrist and then draw around my fingers one at a time to get the shape of my hand. Very easy. Well, if you need a bit of help, don't worry, you can ask mummy or daddy to help you. And back down my wrist. So there is my hand. I have quite large hands. If you want, you can go back on over it. Just make the line a bit darker and thicker. If you want, you don't have to. Maybe you did. If it's pale, then I would suggest you go back over it. And just make sure you're happy with it. And it's nice and straight. Because when you do make it yourself around your hand, you can't really see properly what's going on between your fingers, so you might need to fill in some of the gaps. Okay, so I'm making it darker so my hand is nice and clear for you to see. Here is my hand. I think I have 4 fingers and a thumb. So in my fingers, generally you have 3 bones. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can see that they bend in 2 places. And then I have my thumb, which is usually 2 bones. I have bones going from my knuckle to my wrist. Then you have your wrist bone and your arm bone. So I'm going to take different thicknesses of paper and I'm just going to cut them into strips. So for my wrist bone, I'm going to use quite a thick piece of paper. And for the finger bones, of course, I'm going to use paper that's a lot thinner, a lot more thin than that of my wrist. And I'm just going to cut the paper into strips. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you can't do it yourself, you can get an adult. So I just cut nice thin strips. Nice straight lines. So this is quite easy. I'm going to cut a few different, so I know, make sure I've got enough. And then I'm going to measure on the paper how long I need. For example, for my wrist, I need about that length. So I'm going to cut it around here. And I'm going to do 2 the same sort of length. So that's my arm bones, because you have 2 bones inside. Okay, then I've got my wrist, and then from my wrist I've got bones going from my wrist to my fingers. So I'm going to put the paper on to the card and measure just by eye. Don't need a ruler, just by eye, measuring from the wrist to the bottom of your finger or thumb. And then when you've got all your bits, your 5 actually, from your fingers and to your thumbs, from the wrist to your fingers, from the wrist to your thumb. Once you've got all the pieces correct, you can then glue each piece. So I'm going to use some white glue here, as you can see, and I'm going to glue this down. So if the glue's not coming out, it's got to dry. end, no problem. I just get that off and we start. So I've glued down my wrist now, and I've glued the bones to the knuckle area. Now I'm going to do the bones for each finger, and again the same. I'm going to measure it against inside my finger. So my thumb, there's 2 bones in my thumb. I'm going to measure, and then 3 bones in each finger. So I'm going to measure 1, 2, 3. That's for that finger. 1, 2, 3. That's for that finger. 1. Whoop! It went flying across my page. 1, 2, 3, and then my little finger. I'm guessing my bones are going to be a bit shorter in there, and they are. 1 and 2 and 3, and again I'm going to glue them down. So I'm glued them all down nearly. I'm just doing my little finger now. This is the last one, and I'll show you my finished finger. I'm licking my finger because it makes it a bit easier to pick up the pieces. You could just put a blob of glue on your finger, helps you pick up the pieces, and I am done. So this is an X-ray of my hand. So this was my hand, and there are my bones. And if you're really clever, you could write X-ray on your picture. And of course, you've worked so hard, now you need to sign your work. So my name is Nina. Nina X-ray. And this is my work, and I am super proud. Have a go at home and see what you can come up with. I'm sure they will be fantastic. See you later.